Hello and welcome to Surveyor Says, the podcast from the National Society of Professional Surveyors. Each week, we bring you fascinating guests that are involved in the profession of surveying. We cover a lot of ground, including Table A Talk with Gary Kent, Point of Order with the NSPS Joint Government Affairs Team, Future Focus, highlighting current and future leaders of the profession, and everything survey-related in between. Thanks for joining us here on the podcast, and hope you enjoyed listening to this episode of Surveyor Says. Hello and welcome to another episode of Surveyor Says. My name is Tim Burch, and while it's been a few weeks, yes, we've got the FIG Working Week 2023 in our rearview mirror. The first episode back, well, why not have somebody that was there? And we thought this would be actually a great conversation to have because this young lady I met earlier this year at I think we met at the New York Society conference earlier this year. I think that was right. Not right, Ashley?
Yes, it was.
Okay, because I want to make sure, because I went to Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, and I want to make sure I get them all right. But today we're speaking with Ashley Metz, and what intrigued me about Ashley from the get-go was I've seen her and being very active with Young Surveyors. And within the New York Society, NYSAPLS. I still have trouble saying NYSAPLS all the time. But the fact is that Ashley's very, very committed, very engaged with the New York Society. So after seeing her on a panel discussion up there in New York and having a chance to talk to her, and then talking about the upcoming FIG Working Week at that time, and she really seemed intrigued and wanted to see what it was all about. Well, long story short is able to work with the NYSAPLS, so the actual association and the foundation, and they helped her get to the FIG Working Week. So, Ashley, please tell us a little bit about yourself. Why, and really, I guess, who are you? Where are you from? And where's your current employment? And then we'll get into the whole association and FIG stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, my name is Ashley Metz, and I work as a survey technician at MJ Engineering in Clifton Park. We're about a medium-sized company that does surveying and engineering work. Like you said, I've been involved with a lot of the stuff from NYSAPLS. It is a little bit strange because it is just NYSAPLS. It's, it's something, but it does sound a little strange. But I've been with them for about 5 years at this point, and I haven't wanted to look back.
Well, that's great. That's great. Every surveyor has a story. And the one initial story is, why surveying? How did you get engaged in surveying? I mean, was there a family connection? Was there a friend connection? What dragged you into this wonderful profession?
I did not have your typical, my dad was a surveyor, I became a surveyor story. My dad was involved. He took one college course at a community college of land surveying. He took it just to take it, just to see what it was all about. And then he never went anywhere with it. And in high school, my high school offered a shadowing program where you would go to a professional, ask them if they'd be willing to take you on for a couple weeks. And then during the day, during that block of time that you would have at the school, you would actually travel to the office, do some work there, and gain experience in a trade. And I did that for surveying in a local business at the time that I went to work for after I graduated from college. So it was a fantastic experience where you gained knowledge, and you actually, like I said, I started working for this company right out of school. So it was a very good connection to be able to just enter right into the workforce. But that's really, like, it sounds bare bones, but that's it.
Well, that's okay. I mean, that is quite an acceptable answer. It really is, because like I said, every surveyor has a story of how they got started. And that is a good one. That the fact that there was enough there to pique your interest and drew you in. Um, I guess my next question is, uh, it just seems like the younger generations have less involvement in associations and civic groups and various things. So, what is it about the involvement with the New York Society that, like I said, that kind of pulled you in, because you are quite involved with them, and I really impressed with the amount of things that you have done with them. What drew you into wanting to want to be associated with NYSAPLS?
Well, we heard how my dad influenced me. Now we get to
Mhm.
hear how mom influenced me. My
Aha.
Yep, when she was working, she worked with a number of organizations volunteering, and that really influenced me. I saw how much that, she gained from that in her own career. And so as soon as I knew the career I wanted to go into, I started looking for ways to involve myself in the organizations for the career that I was working in. And I've gained so much from interacting with people with my own region, the Eastern region, and also at the state level. You just learn so many people, and you can learn from those individuals. So that's probably been my biggest bonus to getting involved in those organizations. Um, you're not gonna go anywhere just by yourself. You really need to make connections at some level within your community, within the state, or even nationally.
Oh, exactly. And like I said, that I guess that's the one thing that, and it's the good and bad of social media, and especially LinkedIn, and being able to connect with people, and to be able to also then watch people's careers and see what they're engaged in. And so, I mean, that's how I got to recognize what you were doing in your career, was all of the things you were engaged in within Nice Apples and such. So, no, you're right. It is a good way to not only just promote a great profession and what your own little personal brand, what you're doing, but it is a good way for the profession to really kind of draw together so much. Um, Plus, it's also good to having met and engaged and become contemporaries with a lot of great people within Nice Apples. Obviously, I'm gonna really call out Ricky and Patty Brooks. They're to me they're the cream of the crop when it comes to New York surveyors, and I know you've got a close relationship with them.
Yes, yeah, they've been very good, people to look up to. As along with, I think you spoke with Jennifer Reap on your podcast here in the past. She was actually on one of our diversity panels, or our diversity panels, that we had at Nice Apples in the past. And any person that you meet, you can learn something from. It's just making sure that you keep an open mind to all of that. But certainly, uh, Patty Brooks has been, somebody that personally I've looked up towards, just as a goal.
Exactly. And yes, I'm glad you mentioned Jen, because yeah, she was a great had a great conversation with her. It's been nice to get to know her as well, because it, it's nice to have those types of role models and people that that truly want to see people like yourself do well in this profession, because they've done well in this profession, and really kind of, they hate it when you call them trailblazers, but they really, in their own ways, they are, because they're in your area, they're in your region, and they're quite good and successful at what they do. It really gives you a little more confidence that what you're doing, you can follow those same a similar path, and do just as well.
Absolutely.
Well, let's jump into the FIG working week, because you know, that besides getting to meet you and know you a little bit in New York, it was just an absolute pleasure to get to know you that much more and see the things that intrigued you with the involvement down at the working week. So I guess my first question would be, when I was up at New York and I was explaining it and trying to gauge people's interest, especially from the younger surveyors. Um, did you have any kind of expectations? What did you think you were going to experience coming down in there to an international conference that would be really different than anything you'd ever been to before?
Yeah, kind of I looked at it at face value on the website. I went to the website and I read as much as I possibly could, and I tried not to form any opinion of it before I went down because I didn't want to have a already assumed bias kind of thing. That way I would be able to experience it at face value and just take in as much as possible. So when I started looking into what was available, some of the General Assembly presenters and, getting down into the nitty gritty of the technical sessions, I was overwhelmed, to be honest.
Yes, it can be
Now,
a little bit.
the amount of information that was there for myself and for everybody else that was able to go, just there was, if you wanted to hear about it, it was there between, the new technologies and drones and datums that are coming up, or, you know, conversations about equality and women's rights to own land. Like you ran the gambit um, between every topic involving surveying, which I thought was, you know, I knew I wouldn't be able to go to everything, but I just couldn't wait to go. But when I really focused in on the young professionals group that was offered before the actual working week, I was extremely excited to see that there was something for young professionals, run by young professionals. Because coming from NYSAPLS, we have the Young Professionals Committee that I sit on, and we have a number of things that we do. Um, but we really are looking for how can we push it further? How can we take what we're doing now and push it farther? And so I was very excited to be able to learn from people, within the states and also from across the whole world, to hear what they were doing and what was working for them, what struggles they were facing, and how we can learn and how we can support them as well.
Exactly. Well, good, good. Because yeah, you're right. I had that same conversation with a couple of others that where I was really trying to prod along to to give them the opportunity to be able to experience something that, like I said, would be something completely different from a local chapter meeting, from a state conference, from even our business meetings, and even the student competition where the young surveyors have gotten together the last several years. So I'm just so pleased you were able to make it down and had that initial of, oh wow, I've got a bunch to choose from. So um, I guess one thing I wanted to ask you, in getting together with the young surveyors, um, were you able to share with, I mean, getting to meet young surveyors from around the world, but also able to share in, what the commonalities with what's in your careers, and then also to share, what is different. And I guess that's been for me personally, as a surveyor, the beauty of getting to know not just national, surveyors from across the country, but now surveyors from across around the world, that we're doing the same things, but there are differences, and being able to hear about those differences. So I guess I'm curious what your take was, hearing from the international young surveyors, uh, how they approach their profession.
I think the biggest difference that I noticed was the approach on licensure. In New York specifically, There's a certain way that you get your license, and it does vary state to state in the country. But then as you get out into the wider world, um, it does vary even more. I was talking to somebody from Great Britain, and they talked about licensure, and it was a chartered surveyor, and you became a chartered
Right.
surveyor in a specific um, field. You don't become a licensed land surveyor. You just you're focused on one thing specifically. So I was speaking to a licensed land surveyor, but he didn't know how to run a total station. So it was just an eye-opening experience where it was like, okay, we're all surveyors here. We're all, we've got the commonality of we probably like history, we probably do well with numbers. Um, but it was just so different to hear, like, yeah, I don't know how to use a total station. I don't know how to run a level. Um, so that was probably the biggest difference that I had heard from across the world. I think one of the most common issues that I ran into was that, our young professionals were not getting the training time that we need. That, everybody's looking to get hired someplace where they can have a mentor, where they can get time, you know, talking with people and just gaining experience, instead of just being sent out into the field and, pushing buttons. So there is a very common theme across that, everybody wants to learn and they want to be good at what they do.
Oh, exactly. And that was one thing that did strike me in talking to Shirley from Zimbabwe and a few others, that even the mentoring programs they have set up in Africa for the young surveyors, that there is a significant amount of young surveyors there, which is fantastic, but they don't have nearly enough seasoned surveyors that are willing to step up and be mentors to all of these surveyors. And so that, like I said, it is and it's an interesting challenge. I wish we had that many more young surveyors to have that type of a problem, but at the end of the day, it's still a problem, and you really feel for them that you've got a whole group of like I said, it's an incredible amount of young women in Africa that are surveyors, that they're looking for that mentorship, they're looking for that guidance, and they just don't have the resources, just aren't there to do that. So it really makes you think about how we approach things here. And for me, and seeing somebody like yourself and having a Jen, having a Patty to be able to lean on some things from time to time, I think is just makes it that much more important that those situations that can get done. Um, the one other thing did want to touch on, and I'm so glad you were available and able to work with us, was the little panel recording discussion we had about mental health, and how the serving profession really needs to take a little better, deeper look in how our people are doing on the mental health side. And so I guess my question to you is, did you have a good takeaway from that, and what can we learn from that conversation with that with what I thought was a very widespread and diverse group of people?
Yeah, absolutely. I really enjoyed that entire conversation that we had. However, it gets broken out. I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes of that. Um, I thought it was wonderful to be with so many people that I had met throughout the week, and then be able to sit down and have a conversation with them, because I these people were people that I talked to already, and I felt very comfortable around them. And then to hear some of their experiences and be able to share some of mine, was very good. And I think that right there is what the profession needs. I think, having a level of confidence, having a level of confidence to just be able to go down the hallway and speak to your coworkers or speak to your boss, knowing that you won't come across a certain way, or be perceived a certain way. I think that really has a significant advantage, because when you're always on the defensive, you're always going to be worried about, well, is my work going to be hindered by this, or is my job going to be hindered by this? But certainly that conversation, brought some great topics up, for discussion. I think one of the biggest ones was just having time, to do your job, and maybe not from a 9 to 5 type work day, but whenever you are the most productive. Because certainly I get in at 7 o'clock in the morning, I get the job done. It's not like I'm not doing work, but if I
Right.
worked noon to 8, you'd probably get a more productive time out of me, because I'm a night owl. I'm not functioning in the well, I'm functioning in the morning, but I'm not to my tip top.
Right. Right.
So that was something that I had not heard of. When COVID hit, I was laid off from my first job, and I had about 2 weeks where I didn't have a job, and then I was hired right on after that, and I went right back into the office. So I never worked from home.
Mm.
Uh, so I never got exposed to what working from home was like. So I felt a little bit like I don't really understand what these people are talking about, because I've always been in the office. But it's a great idea. And another good conversation that came out of it was having, something our company does here at MJ Engineering, is having, um, a therapist, available, through your health insurance, to be able to really, if there's something to talk about, or if there's just, you want to have a monthly check-in. Um, there is something to be said about having a company that really cares about you enough to offer these services, because it really does show that they care about you, they care about your job, and they're gonna help you through whatever situation you find yourself in.
That's great. That's well, shout out to the company there that they do value you all enough to be able to do something like that. And that's really part of what we were trying to start that conversation there in Orlando with the Connect and Reflect Lounge. We're going to continue to try to host that at FIG events and beyond. We are, yes, I'm working with Claire um, out of Australia. We are going to disseminate that recording with and transcribe it down to try to do some and share that. Like you said, I thought it was a great conversation. There's a lot of great takeaways from some people in the industry that I've gotten to know the last couple of years, mostly online. That it was finally nice to meet several of them, and it was a great conversation, and it really highlighted the things that are important going forward to make sure that we're, said professionally, yes, we're most, everybody's pretty good at their jobs, but there's just not enough. Sometimes it's really concentrating on the person themselves and not necessarily just the job they do. So your input was very very well received there as well. So thank you for being available for that. Um, I guess my last question as far as the working week goes in is any major takeaways? What was your final thought as you were getting out of Orlando, and what have you thought about the working week since that time?
I think, the biggest takeaway I had was a new energy, because everybody there at that conference, and it's similar to when you go to your annual conference, um, everybody's got so much energy here. You're having a good time, you're learning new things, you're getting, re-energized. There was a time, probably about for the last 6 months, where I was happy where I was, and I didn't really know if I wanted to go for my professional license. Um, I'm happy to say that I'm back at it. I'm going for my professional license. So I think,
Good.
the you know the friendships that I made and the connections, are another big takeaway. But really, just the drive to get back into it and really start working towards licensure, and whatever I can do to help uh, NYSAPLS and our Young Professionals Committee was probably the biggest takeaway.
Good, good. And as you should. I mean, that's I'm pleased to hear that that was part of your takeaway, because to me it was a really good experience, and because one of the things that I appreciate about FIG, and really where some of the world perspective as far as our profession is, and don't get me wrong, we still have a long ways to go even around the world, but it just does seem like there is this more of a push for diversity and for some equity and inclusion. Now, that being said, it's still interesting, like you said, with some of the sessions. It's amazing to me that there are places in the world where women still are not allowed to hold title to property. There's a lot of places where there still is women's rights lacking, but the profession itself, it seems like it is expanding to allow a lot more of a diversity, equity, and inclusion, especially when it comes to women. And that was a big thing I took out of it, and I'm hoping that was something that a lot of young women came away with.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we had a one of the technical sessions was, you know, more geared towards women, and I did attend that one. And I thought it was wonderful. It was something that was new with having multiple different presenters.
Hmm.
But I thought that was actually very good because you got more than just one perspective. And then the panel that followed it just had lots of good questions and lots of good responses.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's nice. I mean, especially with the new FIG president, Diane is she's a while she's actually the second female president within the last three, but I mean, she's continuing this push towards a much more diverse uh, leadership, and that's what I think is important, and what I see. And and then some of the people, like you said, that we might meet along the way, that there's women in significant leadership roles in surveying from around the world. And I think that's a good goal for our organizations within the United States to continue to try to press on as well. um so you had a chance to see what's surveying is from around the world. You got a taste for some of that. Um, Anything that you saw out there that really things that we can bring back here, that we should learn, that we should maybe think about implementing? I guess just anything that was inspirational to you to try to change some things within the surveying profession and our attitudes here in the United States.
Well, maybe not something as broad as that, but when we spoke the second day of our young professionals group, somebody from the Get Kids into Surveying program spoke with us, and I had been following them. If you can go online and get a whole free sticker pack, and so I had already done that because the women's there's a women's organization for surveying, and I wanted one of their stickers. So I went online and I just ordered that one, but somehow I managed with all of the stickers.
Yep.
I think, advertising isn't something that we really learn about as surveyors. And, our Young Professionals Committee in New York has a new initiative it's called Soldiers to Surveyors.
Yep.
Um,
Yes. Good.
we're looking to get soldiers who are retiring or veterans from the military into surveying. And I definitely think stickers are in our future.
Good. Good. No, and it's even if it's just something small, and it's not insignificant, but it's just something small and meaningful like that. Yes, as long as there's always a takeaway, good and bad, what to do, what not to do, and things to learn from. So yes, and you're right. Between the Women's Survey Summit and the Future Surveyors Foundation, and yes, there is becoming more and more of a push and a realization that there is a whole group of military veterans that are coming out of their service still at a young age, and they're looking like everyone. They're looking for a career they can step into and enjoy. So yeah, and I know that Amber and the crew up there at NYSAPLS is starting to put that together. That's fantastic, and I'm glad you mentioned it here, because it's something that does need to be promoted more and more as much as we possibly can.
Yeah, absolutely. They, some of their training is purpose built for becoming a land surveyor. Even if they just went through basic training, they know how to cover ground, they know how to read a compass. So they're halfway there, so to speak.
Yep, that is good. Well, I'd like to being respectful of your time. We'll see about wrapping this up. But so I have one question for you as a young surveyor. How does the future of surveying look to you? I mean, you just said you're going to go ahead and chase down that professional licensure. So I'm hoping it's a little bit positive, but what's the future look like to you?
Well, it's certainly positive. You're not going to go anywhere unless it's positive. So I definitely see, surveying, it's come so far. It's the second oldest profession, but it hasn't changed that much from the original. I definitely see us sticking with the new technology that comes available to us. Certainly, land surveying is not going to go very far if we don't evolve with the new technology. So I definitely see us, embracing new technologies, but still sticking to, our standards and not compromising on that. Because I think it's very important that, we're known for being the numbers people,
Mm-hmm.
and yes, and they're the numbers people, they're good with math, but surveyors, we know how to do things that you don't even know that there was a problem, that. So I'm very excited to see where we go in the future. And I definitely think that we've got a big wide future, with all the new young people that are coming in and not taking over, but certainly learning from their mentors and getting excited to make their own impact.
Well, and also they're helping show the way on technology and where the future is going to go from here. So, no, Ashley, thank you for your help down in Florida with us with some things. Thank you for being involved at both local, state, and then now even at the international level with us. Um, Everybody out there, Ashley Metz, you're going to hear that name in the future, because she's going to continue to to be out there for us to see what all the great things that she does. So, Ashley, I appreciate you taking time out from your busy schedule to join me, and we'll look forward to catching up with you again in the near future, especially once you get that license.
Most definitely, Tim. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, that'll wrap us up for this week of Surveyor Says. We will have several more conversations coming up with a lot of FIG attendees, and just kind of recapping what was a great several days as Ashley and I have sitting here been talking about. So hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you soon. Thanks. You've been listening to the Surveyor Says podcast, brought to you by the National Society of Professional Surveyors. If you have any questions about today's episode or any other topic, please email us at info@nsps.us.com, and we are here to help. Visit our website, nsps.us.com, to learn more about our association, the programs we administer and support, our sustaining members, and information about future episodes of Surveyor Says. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify, as well as our podcast host, Podbean. And remember, it's a great day to be a surveyor.